Let's be super practical here. What are some of your day game openers? And let's just first go through a little bit of day game stuff. You know, if you're out doing groceries, like maybe that's Ross's thing, or if you just want to haunt a park in Manhattan or something like that. What are your day game openers? After we go through that, feel free to just drop any other lines like Ryan was mentioning, and X Social was also talking about some particular lines. Now is the segment I would love to go through people's lines. Let's use this as an opportunity to give people a lot of ideas. And it's not about the lines. Feel free to add in context if you will, but people are low on ideas and we got to inspire them. Who wants to go first?
I'll go with this one because day game is my specialty.
Go ahead.
So before I give you the line, there's some principles involved. One of the principles is to admit your intent and to own what you do. When you're doing pickup, you cannot apologize for what you do. You have to be all in, 100%, play big. Never, you can appear to apologize, but you don't. And you have to do what I call own the cheese. And I've found if you use laughter and then state your intent behind the laughter, it's very powerful. If all you use is laughter, and that's continuously what you do, you come off as a clown and you drop people's comfort goes away. They don't want to talk to you. So I'll do something like this. First, I do a pre-opener. A pre-opener is just designed to get the first initial eye contact and to demonstrate instantly she can evaluate whether you're safe or not. So if I'm in a grocery store, I'll say something like, excuse me, and I'll wait for her to give me eye contact. I'll say, do you mind if I reach into your space to grab the avocados? And she'll say, sure. And I'll say, excuse me again, but I've got to ask, you don't work for the Department of Defense, do you? She looks puzzled and she'll say, no. Why do you ask? I said, because your eyes are weapons of mass distraction. Now that gets a huge laugh, 9 out of 10, but I don't leave it there. I do not leave it there. I will say, okay, that was really cheesy. But as soon as I saw you, I thought she cares deeply about other people, but she doesn't give a F about what other people think about her. If you don't talk to her for a minute, you'll kick yourself in the ass for the next 6 weeks. I'm Paul. Paul's my real name. And I shut up and I let her have a response. And usually they're blown away. They're blown away by the fact that I've demonstrated balls just by doing it, that I'm vulnerable by revealing my intent. And it's also a deep compliment. No woman has ever heard that compliment before, that she cares deeply about others, but she doesn't give a fuck about, I don't say fuck. I say, you don't give a F about what other people think about you. And even if it's not true, they want to believe it's true. I very seldom have had that anything other than, wow, that's the most amazing thing anyone has ever said about me. And then we start the conversation. That's how I do it. I use humor. I combine it with balls and admitting, getting rapport by saying, okay, that was cheesy, because that's pretty much what she's almost always thinking. So it's a lot being done very quickly in a short amount of time. I guess some people would say demonstrating value. I don't think about it that way, but that's what I do, or some variation thereof. But I use laughter in a strategic way. And also, as our friend here, our young Asian friend would say, laughter gives everyone a hit of dopamine, serotonin. What else? What other chemicals are released in the brain?
Okay,
Oxytocin?
so okay, based on laughter, I mean, we're talking about connection here, or
Yes.
like attraction-based connection. That is dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, and part of it, not that much in the beginning, is oxytocin, but then you have to be in the conversation itself. So
Yes.
it's mainly endorphins and dopamines we're talking about when it comes to laughter.
Yeah.
Mostly dopamine, if they have that kind of feeling. Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Alrighty.
Um,
Throw in your openers.
sure. Here's the best opener ever, but it only works if you have a dog. You go up to a girl and you say, "Hey, I thought my dog thought you were really cute, and he wanted me to meet you." Pretty much works every time. But again, you need a dog for that. But I think dogs are awesome, so everyone should have a dog anyway. Okay, that probably isn't going to work for most guys who don't have animals. So another good one is second best, I would say, is observational openers. So, like for example, if I can kind of go off what Ross said, actually, if you make eye contact with a girl just for a few seconds, you can go up to her and say, "Hey, I think we just had a moment right there." That's a good one that will work right there. Another one is just you can just observe her outfit. So for example, it's quite often girls will wear like all black or all white. I'd be like, "Ooh, I like the all black look. You look like a sexy cat burglar or something like that." So observational stuff is good. If you can't think of anything, a safe one is, hey, hey, I know this is really random, but I thought you were cute and you want to say hi. That one works quite well. If you're at a grocery store, my favorite one at grocery stores is to, if a girl's like, it looks like she's getting something or she's looking for something, ooh, don't get that. Pause. She'll be like, oh, why not? I'm like, oh, it's the worst. She'd be like, really? And then you can just say, no, I'm just kidding. I just want to meet you. That usually works quite well because you kind of elicit a strong reaction. But yeah, those are ones off the top of my head.
It's good shit. I mean, I basically it's funny because I don't call it dig game, but I just like when I just holler at a woman, I go very direct, and a lot of my conversation is very sexual. So what I do is that I try to see her, well, basically I see her response based off of me being sexual. So it'll be something simple like if I'm in the street or at a coffee shop or whatever, and I see a girl, and I'll just usually say, "Hey, how you doing?" Right, and then if she responds, she's like, "Oh, I'm good. How you doing or whatever." I introduce myself. I say, "My name is Locario. What's your name?" Stacy. Like, Stacy, nice to meet you. You're looking really sexy in that dress you got on, right? So I'm always saying sexy, and I'm always flirting, right? And then what I say is, I say, "Listen, take your phone out." And I was like, "I want you to put in my number. I want you to call me tonight. And when we get together again, I want to do this, this, and that." And it's usually something of, we're going to get a drink, then I'm going to go back to my place. So I say everything that I want to happen before we even get the information. So I say all this stuff, then I say, put the number in the phone. So usually one of two things happens. One, the girl is showing me off rip that she's not down. So then I don't even tell her to take out the phone and put in a number. I just tell her to have a nice day. But two, if she's flirting back with me, or she's blushing, or she's saying, "Oh, I think you're cute too," or whatever it is, then I say, put the number in the phone, hit me up, and then we're going to do this on this day. So that's basically how I do it. And the reason why I'm doing it on a sexual thing is because I'm very direct with it, because I only want to deal with women who is showing sexual interest from the jump. I don't want to deal with women who could be just talking to me because I'm talking to them, or talking to me because they expect me to take them dinner, or talking to me because, for any other reason. So that's basically how I sort of weed out, what I'm saying, the ones that actually are interested in that versus interested in some other things. You see what I'm saying?
Locario, you
Damn,
can just
that
say,
is
I'm not gonna buy you food and I am interested in fucking you, and then that takes care of that.
Basically.
And Locario doesn't call himself a pickup artist. Right, right.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's funny. I was gonna say about that because he said he doesn't call it day game. You know how many African guys I seen like in the field, like, dude, are you a pickup artist? You doing night game? And they were like, what the hell is that? They're just Africans doing their thing.
That's Nigerians are all about that. If a Nigerian like sees you talking to a girl, he'd be like, "My friend, come over here, come over here, come over here, come over here." He's like, "You like that girl?" You're like, "Yeah,
It's
yeah,
in the
she's cute." He's like,
DNA.
you got her number? Yeah, yeah. You gonna fuck her? I don't know. Hopefully, yeah. Good, 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 good. Yeah.
That's
I'll add something really quick. I wanted to say first, along the lines of what Ross is talking about here, a lot of the times, and I also don't call it day game, but I only do game in the day as I'm going about my day, and so I kind of oscillate between two sort of modes. One is the Locario sort of idea where I just straight up sexual, damn girl. She's like, what? And it's like that behind, like, holy shit, like what's going on here? Straight up about her body, straight up about, I even say like that dump truck, like things like this, just because right away. And I'm concerned with, approaching like this in certain environments. And actually I do approach like that most personally when I'm in New York City, which is the closest city to where I am. So I think there's a certain vibe depending on the city you're in and like the type of person you approach. So now with relation to what Ross said, which is what I typically would go with, is something more like, and I'll just say when I approach, when it comes time to like admit why it is that I've approached, I'll use the compliment. You carry yourself so well. I like the way you carry yourself. You carry yourself so well. So it's because I find too often that guys will ask me like, well, what Because it would be great to have a unique, like I like your eyes because they're this, if you really meant it. But you won't know until you're actually knowing the person that that's something special about them, usually. But there's one thing that every woman's proud of, even again, just like Ross, even if she's not doing it at that moment. And it's something about the way that she's perceived and the way that she's carrying herself. And so, and again, it goes without saying that, or maybe I guess I need to say it. When I'm approaching with the other method, the yo, damn girl, your butt's looking great, I'm kind of approaching a different quality relationship or a different framework for the relationship than when I'm asking, like, are you single? Why am I asking? Because the way you carry yourself. And so and now I'm more interested in the latter. And so now I'm more interested in building relationships off of that framework.
You should try
I
that
just
with
want
an
to add,
Asian girl who has no ass and see how she responds.
Well, I
I
lived
just
in
want to
China.
add,
Yo, I lived in China for 6 years. And
oh,
so
wow.
I was out there studying meditation and working at a university. And there were many times where I, in the beginning, got caught up in that framework that I had created for myself. And like I'd said before, we kind of got into the heat of this at the very start of our conversation. It's worth it to to have some consistency and try on a certain approach. Again, to have the consistency to see it through. And then when you're feeling a different mode in you or a different sort of like curiosity or a mode to engage with, to try that on. And so, yeah, pretty quickly I kind of got out of canned game when I started to travel more and realized that I'd gotten into canned game.
Damn girl, that ass looks like it belongs to the CCP.
I would not try any of that type of approach in Northern California
Right.
because it is such an environment of victimhood, and you're violating my safe zone, and what a microaggression. So just be aware of the culture of where you're located.
Definitely.
I'm just saying that. And further, speaking to your point, sir, uh, a line I've been teaching since 1995 is you carry yourself with discipline and elegance. It's very rare. Word for word, that's a line I've used and have taught my students to use. And by the way, I want to say something to everyone watching. No matter whose advice you follow, I want to encourage you, let your bold actions in the world determine for you what you can really do. If you let your internal dialogue be the architect of your life, you will live a small life that you tolerate rather than a huge life that you celebrate. So take everyone's advice here into account and follow what makes sense to you. But the key word is let your actions in the world with repeated experiments shape who you are and shape your world. Do not let your internal dialogue and all the what if it doesn't and blah, blah, blah in your head be the architect of your life, because you will live a tiny life and no one will really want to connect with you, and they certainly won't want to follow you, and you will not be anyone's emotional leader. And emotional leadership, being a leader in the connection, is a huge step in becoming someone who's really successful with women in any area of life. Just had to add that.
Interesting. Similar to what Ryan was talking about earlier, the are you single question, not really a line, but a line still. One thing I like to say is, how's your love life? People always say like, how are you? And those questions are fucking boring to me and very unappealing. And everyone says the same stuff, and it's very uninspiring. But by asking how's your love life, at least you get a glimpse into, like, even with female friends, you can ask this. With colleagues, you can ask this. You can ask anyone this kind of question. Maybe don't ask your grandmother or something like that. That's my only little context there. But it's a much easier way to find out if someone is taken, or just to get a glimpse into how they're going about their dating. Are they seeing someone in an informal way? It's super helpful. Anyway, any more lines? Let's just throw on this giant fire as many lines as possible.
Oh,
Here's a
You
couple
won't Subway
I'm sorry,
because
here's
James.
you're
a
giving
couple
me a foot
for
long.
like night game. Like I don't primarily do like day game, but I do like night game. So here's like two. They're more like direct style. Now, out here in Los Angeles, if I see a girl that's, tall, attractive, that gets me going. So I want to use that emotion. And then I'll go up to her like, you are tall and gorgeous. I fucking love you. Right. And like this works on like the 6 foot tall girls. And I'm like 5'5". So it tends to get like a very strong reaction from them. Because they're not gonna get hit on by like a short Asian dude all that often. So I, definitely, am
Most of the time, it'll be a short Indian dude.
And the other one I like to use is "You are fucking beautiful" or "You are fucking adorable." So those are like my two go-tos when I'm out at nighttime.
Oh, damn.
I'll jump in. So, like a lot of the guys have said, I think it's important when you're approaching during the daytime, especially depending on the scenario, to sort of state your intention. What are you doing talking to her randomly during the day? That being said, I do that as sort of my last resort. I'm a big fan of trying to come up with a spontaneous opener in the moment that comes to me, but I have my default openers that I can go back to if I'm making excuses or if I don't see a way in. And I typically do not comment on the woman's physical beauty. I will comment on her energy. So I'll say that I was drawn to her. And then I'll say, what is that? Where does that come from? I don't know. Anyway, I'm Erik. So I'll do kind of a similar direct opener, but rather than saying I had to come over here because you're adorable or because you're cute, the same day game opener that's been around, right, since the mid 2000s that we've all heard a million times, that Ross has taken to a more sophisticated level. That's probably the most sophisticated spin of the traditional day game opener that I've seen. That was a good one. And then Locario, I respect the direct approach and the super sexual approach, but I've also found that you're forcing the woman to choose on the spot if she's attracted to you or not. I'm more about, let me get my foot in the door, demonstrate some personality, then I make her choose. Because when you put someone on the spot, there may be quite a few women that you could have a connection with, but it's like, you know what I mean? The whole boiling the frog analogy that Ross, I'm going to give you props for that one back in the 90s, right? That analogy has been around for a while, right? Is that where it came from? Was that written in your book? Anyway,
No, but when you said I've been around a long time, this is my
yeah.
book.
So anyway, to summarize, I go spontaneous during the day. Funny, Alex, I've actually used the same thing in the grocery store. Like, oh, you don't want to get that. That's loaded with chemical additives or something. And it could be like an apple. It could be an organic apple, And she's like, really? Like,
Don't
but
get
anyway,
that. That's
I want
vegan.
I want to be spontaneous as much as
Don't
possible.
get that. That's for homosexuals.
I want to be spontaneous, but then I have my default openers if I have to go to them. But I typically leave looks out of it. I comment on her energy, and I typically don't sexualize too quickly. Not because I'm trying to be phony, but I want to create a genuine connection, and I want to perform my song before I ask her if she likes it and she wants to hear more. I want to give her a sample of the album before I ask her if she wants to buy the whole thing.
Anyway, Erik, are those Kurt Cobain's clothes?
I
you're wearing
basically agree with
today
everything Erik said. Yeah.
What's that?
I said I basically agree with everything you said. I don't like the idea of going too physical too fast because I feel like that can turn some girls off. It's very polarizing. The girls that will respond positively to that are going to be basically a done deal, but there's going to be a lot of maybe girls that you will turn off by going too physical too fast. I think that compliments should be generally not super obvious ones. So if a girl has a big ass, like she'll always get compliments on her ass.
I'll be right back.
So I would go with something a little bit different than that. But yeah, other than that, I agree with everything.
I think that's basically why I do it, because what it is that, see, the thing is, you don't really turn a woman off. She just was not really that into you. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times what happens is that it's like you'll waste time with women who either you needed to persuade them more, or you're dealing with women who have like medium or low interest. So what I'm doing is that I'm finding the women who have high interest and that I'm dealing with them. And the women who have medium or low interest, I kind of like toss them to this, like I just eliminate them immediately. Because what happens is that if I have to persuade too much or try to convince the girl, then what happens is that I'm putting in more work versus having a woman who's highly interested and then keeping and maintaining that interest versus finding a girl who's kind of lukewarm about it and then having her to like become more interested as I'm going along. You see what I'm saying? So it just all depends on like your agenda and I think also time. Because what happens, I used to be a little bit more laid back about it, but then what I would do is I would attract women who were more like attention whorish type of thing, where they would show me interest, but it wasn't really interest in me sexually. It was interest in, oh yeah, let's hang out, let's, like go get a drink, let's talk and all this. But then when it came down to sex, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, well, I'm not really that interested in you sexually, which is why it's not going to happen. Or, hey, let's just be friends. Or, hey, so I was like, let's eliminate all that and just get straight to, is this woman actually showing that interest now? Or is she not? And usually if she's not, that means that she's not really highly interested. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure.
it
And
depends on where oh,
it's
go
a
ahead.
style of game that works. And I think somebody like you who's very calibrated and has been doing this a while, you can pull it off, right? I do think though, to any guys that are listening, that do not have proficiency, I think it's better to learn to play solid game. And then after you get some proficiency, then you can start to transition to bolder, more sexualized conversations. Uh, I don't disagree. You know what I mean? It's not like I can disagree with something you're saying. I just personally think that it's a high octane style that burns through a bunch of good opportunities.
It's all
Had
context
you played
specific.
solid game.
It's like it's all context specific because what he's talking about is he's just rapidly screening, right? And
Yeah.
so he's not wasting a lot of time. So, you know, you only need like one girl that says like, yeah, I'm down, right? And then like, okay, that's all the experience like even a newbie needs, right? If you find
Well,
one girl. But again, it's context specific, whether a noob or someone more intermediate, he's talking about his experience, his game, his sexual market value. And I can absolutely see why like something that would work for him. And
It's
like
like
anybody.